Hey again, it's Christina from Sunshine and Flora. So we're in the second week of October and I have had a frost, but as you can see, there are still some really beautiful flowers in the garden. Most of these are a little bit damaged either from the frost or the bugs, and so I'm not really harvesting from out here. I am harvesting from the Hoophouse, but in this video, I wanted to share with you what projects I am doing this time of year to actually prep for next year. So the first thing you're going to see is I set up my GoPro and just kind of filmed myself doing a little bit of garden work, so I'll explain that. That was all done last week. Then I'm going to hop back on here and I want to give you an update of how everything is doing from those projects. So the first project I started was pulling all of my glads out. Now this is the first year that I have grown gladiolus in the garden, and I have read that you can easily save the bulbs or corms. So I decided that I would do that since I was pulling them out anyway. So I pulled all of them out of the garden and then I took them over to the back end of the truck and I cut all of the bulbs off to save those, and then the rest of the plant would go to compost. Now, as I was going through these, I came across a bunch of them that had little white growths on them, which I thought was a disease, so I threw them away. But later I read that these are baby corms, so I could have saved these after all. Once I was done with that, I headed to the Hoophouse to start clearing it out. Here you can see I'm tearing out some lisianthus. I also cleared out an area of stock and nigella. And this area is where I am planting some fall crops that will be wintered over to grow in the spring. I ordered 2 trays of Campanula from Farmer Bailey, one that's violet and one that's white. And there is a really great article on the Johnny's website about being in zone 5 and being able to overwinter Campanula in a Hoophouse. So that's what I'm going to try. So I loosened up the soil. Now I'm putting the plugs into the soil, and then I went back with an organic raised bed mix to top them off just to give them some nutrients. And I will make sure to keep you guys posted through the whole winter on how these grow, how they do, and how much I have to cover them in the Hoophouse. I'm hoping these give me some very early season blooms. So 1 week later on the glad bulbs, they have been drying out. I plan to close up this cardboard box, store them in a cool, dark place, and they will be planted next spring out in the garden. So just taking a look out here at the garden, we had over 4 inches of rain last night, so everything's looking pretty lush. While the zinnias from a distance look good, they are pretty much all done for. Let's go in the Hoophouse. I want to show you how the Campanula is doing. All right, so here is a look at the Hoophouse. It is so warm and toasty in here. You can see my feverfew is looking amazing. Snapdragons are in full bloom. I harvested 2 buckets of dahlias this morning, and I have ranunculus and anemones starting to grow. So that'll be really fun to see if I get some blooms off of those. Here is the second tray of Campanula. This is the violet. I have yet to plant this. I probably will do that this next week. But as far as the Campanula that I planted last week, it is looking absolutely amazing. Now the 4 inches of rain we got obviously does not come into the Hoophouse because it has a roof over it, but outside the water kind of pools and soaks in, and it does wick in. So these did get watered with rainwater last night because it soaks through the soil. So that's going to really give them a boost, but they're all looking really, really good. I cannot wait to see how these do next spring. I will make sure to keep you guys updated on how they do through the winter, if I cover them, everything that I do. The remaining stock that I have in the Hoophouse, I'm just going to let this go and see if I get any blooms off of it. The rest of the Campanula will probably get planted in this spot over here. And when the dahlias get ripped out, I'll probably plant some in here. But where these dahlias are, this is actually where all of my spring ranunculus gets planted. So I don't want to take up this whole bed, but I should have room for it all. So it felt really good to get those two projects done, and I still have a ton of work to do in the garden yet this fall, including clearing out all of my garden beds. I also want to try to get ahead of next year's weed pressure by tarping some areas and doing some things. So I'll make sure to share that with you guys. I have to plant my tulip bulbs yet, and I have some very big news that I'd like to share with you guys, probably in the next video. So watch for that. We'll see you soon.